I skipped my family's luxury cruise, then sent one text that blew everything up. I'm a 25-year-old woman, and recently I made a decision that has my phone suspiciously quiet and my conscience very loud. My parents planned a big holiday cruise this year, the kind with fancy dinners, ocean views, and matching family photos people pretend are candid. They invited my older brother Ryan, his girlfriend, and me. On the surface, it sounded like a perfect family trip. But in my family, things are never just about the trip. You see, Ryan has always been what I privately call the untouchable one. Growing up, the rules bent around him like gravity didn't apply. When we were teenagers, he got caught dealing prescription pills at school. My parents brushed it off as him experimenting and said he was just struggling. When I was caught smoking once, they threatened to throw me out of the house. Same parents, same household, completely different consequences. College wasn't much different. Ryan lost his scholarship, dropped out multiple times, and somehow it was always someone else's fault. The professors, the pressure, the timing. I graduated only slightly behind schedule, and suddenly I lacked discipline. It felt like we were living in two separate realities. Even now, as adults, the pattern hasn't changed. Ryan still lives out of state and doesn't currently work. My parents regularly send him money for rent, groceries, and whatever else comes up. Not long ago, he used that money to buy a purebred dog that cost more than my first car. Meanwhile, when I landed my first serious job at 22, my parents wasted no time removing me from their insurance because, in their words, I was financially independent now. Ryan stayed on their plan until he aged out. Last year, when I lost my job unexpectedly, I moved back home temporarily to rebuild my savings. They agreed. Or at least I thought they had. The moment I found another job, they informed me I owed them $10,000 in retroactive rent. Something we had never discussed before. I paid it, every cent, and then I moved out as quickly as I could. So when the cruise came up, I guess you could say I was already carrying years of quiet resentment. Here's where things finally boiled over. My parents happily announced they had purchased tickets for themselves, Ryan, and his girlfriend. Then they turned to me and said almost casually, "You can book your own since you have a good salary." I asked why I was the only one expected to pay. Their response? They told me not to be jealous. That bitterness wasn't attractive. That phrase alone nearly made my eye twitch. What really stung was learning Ryan had been given one of the nicer rooms with a balcony. When I pointed that out, my parents shrugged and said I didn't need anything fancy because I'd barely be inside the room anyway. I nodded at the time, but internally something snapped. I told them I'd think about it. And technically that wasn't a lie. For months they assumed I was coming. They talked about excursions, dinners, matching outfits, all of it. I never corrected them. Then the night before departure, they texted me the plan. Arrive at their house by 8 a.m. so we could all drive to the port together. Morning came. 8 o'clock passed. Then my phone started buzzing. "Where are you? Running late?" "Hello?" At 8:30, I finally responded. I wrote, "Since it didn't seem important to you to include me the same way as everyone else, I've decided to spend the holiday with my boyfriend instead. Enjoy the trip." Then I silenced the conversation. Petty, maybe? But in that moment, it felt like reclaiming a tiny piece of dignity. Now they've been gone for a few days, probably sipping overpriced drinks somewhere sunny, and I keep wondering, did I handle that terribly? Part of me thinks I should have just gone. I could afford it. I probably would have enjoyed myself once we were out at sea. Another part of me is exhausted from pretending the favoritism doesn't exist. My friends are split. Some say I stood up for myself, others think canceling last minute was unnecessarily dramatic. And honestly, now that the adrenaline has worn off, I'm not sure whether I set a boundary or just burned a bridge. So tell me, was I wrong for backing out the way I did?